All right, welcome to Texans Unfiltered. I am taking control today. James is celebrating his 14th, 15th wedding anniversary. I'm a little bit confused on which one it is at this point because I think he's changed the story on us a couple of times. But that's all right. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. We've got Jordan, also known as Texans Thoughts. He's one of the newest members of the Texans Unfiltered family community. Yeah, family. I'll go with that. Writing for us now, as well as writing for Battle Red Blog, and he's got way more followers on Twitter than I do, so y'all probably already know who he is. How are we doing, Jordan?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Really excited for first time on the show. Ready to talk football.
This is your first. Well, that's your second time. I mean, you did the interview.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a great episode. That whole draft thing. That was great. It was really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I enjoyed it. It was nice to sit back and be able to listen and learn something for once, instead of just getting up here and BSing my way through, pretending that I know something. All
Oh geez, did
right,
I
so
type that? What the heck?
yeah, it's gonna show up whenever you type.
Oh, on all four. Okay.
Yep, it does all four, and it's not gonna show up as your name. It's gonna show up as us, as Texans Unfiltered.
Oh, I see. Okay,
But
cool.
it's cool. Usually we just kind of talk with them and let them type, but no worries. No worries either
Still
way.
learning.
Yeah. Like I said, it's going to be fun tonight. All right, Jordan. So you're up in Canada, right?
I am. Yeah. So I'm originally from Toronto. I go to school in Vancouver, British Columbia, and just right now because school's over, went back home. So yeah, it's pretty nice up here.
Y'all up there staying safe?
Yeah, man, Canada's pretty, they've been pretty good about staying safe, taking their precautions. Definitely a little bit more than the States, I have to say. But how about you?
Yeah. Well, I'm in Texas, so they're telling everybody that we're reopening, which is kind of interesting. We'll kind of see how that goes. I just hope nobody gets sick. Oh, we'll just roll with it. Um, I mean, I never stopped working, so for me, not a whole lot is changing, except maybe I'll be able to get more choices for food, but I don't think we'll actually go and sit down any.
Yeah, for me, just being stuck in the house is kind of a bit of a drag, just not even being like with my friends back at school. Like, it really gets like, you really just kind of sitting on your laptop all day, either working or trying to keep yourself busy. So I really need this to be over by now. I honestly didn't think it would last this long when it was first coming to be, but I don't know. We'll see how much longer it takes. I guess things are opening up now, so looking better. Hopefully things continue to look better. Yeah.
Yeah, just that's all we all want. We want to get back to normal.
Yeah.
We're kind of tired of all
I'm
this.
tired of this.
Only 2 more years. There you go.
Oh, God.
Way to stay optimistic. Except I think that that's Preston, so I think he's actually being honest because Preston's pretty sharp. All right, well, Texans, Jordan, what have you actually been writing? What's coming out over the next couple of days from you?
Yeah, so I had the great opportunity to sit down and talk to a current Texans player, and that was a really fun experience, man. I got to talk to him, ask him some questions, and we got to go over some of his film, break down some of his plays. I got to listen to his insight, and it was crazy to me because I've never actually talked to a player. It was my first time, and just to see what goes through their mind and how smart they are about the game. It was really great to see. So I put that article together. I'm gonna have it released as my first article tomorrow on the website. Really excited for that. I think everyone's gonna love it. And then after that, I'm gonna be working through. I'm gonna have a Ross Blacklock article out next week. I really grew on that pick. I didn't love it at first, but he's gonna be great for us for sure. And then after that, I'm just gonna kind of go through and review some of the Texans 2019 season, some key players there. I'm gonna start off with Gary Conley. That's gonna be the first one, and I'll kind of go through some other players. But yeah, that's what I got planned.
No, that's actually really exciting. Why weren't you as high on Blacklock before you started doing the breakdown?
Yeah. So for me, at 40, I really wanted someone for a couple things. I wanted someone who was going to be ready day one to contribute. And I wanted either when I figured that we were going to go defensive tackle because that's how Bill O'Brien said it was like our number one need, right? And with that, I wanted someone who could really rush the passer. I thought that was the big thing we've been lacking from our defense. And I think it's something that'll really help everyone on the defense, especially our other edge rushers like Merciless and Watt. If you get pressure up the middle, someone collapsing the pocket, it's just going to make it easier for them. So thought if we could get that at 40, it would be the perfect pick. And so when we were at 40 and we had so much talent falling to us in the second round, we were sitting in a perfect position. We guys like Marlon Davidson, Neville Gallimore, those kind of defensive tackles that are more of the pass rush type, sitting right there for us. And so when we took Blacklock, who's kind of more of a run stuffer, and he's great at that, I will give him that for sure. He's a great run stuffer. It was just a little bit disappointing because that wasn't the style of player that I wanted. But after I'm doing my breakdowns and I've seen, so at first I watched like 5 games of him and I wasn't like in love with him, but I watched another 5 and I really love his game and I really see now how he fits DJ Reader's role kind of perfectly. He'll come in day one and he can stuff the hell out of the run. He'll be great against double teams, holding those down. And while he may not get off a lot of them and make a tackle, he's going to hold those blocks to where those offensive linemen can't get to the second level and can't block linebackers. So that means Bernard McKinney, Zach Cunningham, they're going to have free reins to the running back. And that's going to be perfect for us. That's going to really help our run defense. So that's kind of where I grew on the pick, seeing where he comes in and he can replace DJ Reader's style in that way. And then he is an athletic dude, so I see his pass rushing potential. While it may not be there day one, it's definitely something he can grow into.
What year of his tape did you really watch? Because for me, it was kind of eye-opening watching his. I think it was the senior year, his last year. I wasn't sure if he's a senior or a junior off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
But it looked like he was 2 different players when he was younger and he was the All Big 12 All Big 12 freshman. He looked like he really engaged in double teams a lot more like a traditional defensive tackle. But what jumped out to me about his more recent tape is since he slimmed down, he lost about 25, 30 pounds. He looks a lot more slippery.
Yeah, he definitely. So the big thing for me that people always say, like, oh, he had an Achilles injury. Like, how do you feel about that? And his last season in college, like, he looked super athletic. Like, you wouldn't even be able to tell that he had an Achilles. And I think, like you mentioned, him slimming down, it really showed up on tape. I think he weighed in at 290, I believe. And yeah, like you said, it allows him to be explosive. It allows him to be slippery. He's really good at kind of slipping into the middle of like a double team where he's forcing both of the blockers to kind of hold on to him. So yeah, I looked at mainly his last season in college, and it was really great to see. I think it was just weird how the first 5 games I watched him, they weren't like his best games, but then his other 5, like they just happened to be like a lot better. Like he played a lot more consistent and better. So it was great to see.
Yeah, no, awesome. All right. Well, again, very, very excited about that. You got any thoughts you want to share us on Gary and Conley, since he was quite the newsmaker when we didn't pick up his option.
Yeah. So first about his option, I agree with the decision to decline it simply because of our cap space is a little bit tricky right now, and there are things we can do to fix that. But with Laramie Tunsil's new contract now in the books, Deshaun Watson got his option picked up for $17 million, I believe that's the number. And then you've got extensions coming for Deshaun, for Cunningham. It's really hard to commit another $10 million. That's what Gary Conley's option was. It's really hard to commit that number for a season when you know the cap space is going to be limited, and when you've only seen 8 games of Conley. And don't get me wrong, those 8 games were really great. He played really good, and I'll get into that in a second. But it's hard to commit that much amount of money before you've seen enough. And the thing is, just because we declined his option doesn't mean that we don't want him back. We can extend him mid-season if he continues to play this well, or we can still sign him at the end of the season. So yeah, actually, before I got into like what I've seen in the film, what do you think about the decision to decline his option?
I'm not actually a big fan of it. Watching how he played man last year, for the half season he was with us. If we get the player that we played, how he played the last half of the season, playing predominantly man with the Texans, we're gonna have to spend more than the 10 point. I think it was 10.6, 10.7. It's
Mm-hmm.
to pick up his to pick up his option. I mean, he did play significantly better, especially down the stretch than he did with the Raiders. Now, if he's the guy that he was the first half of the season with the Raiders, then yeah, you can't pay that guy that much. But second half, I get it. And so I understand from a business standpoint, it's like, well, which one do you bet on? Do you bet on him doing a whole season, or do you bet on him regressing back to where he was? So I'm of the opinion that I think that you want to try and sign him for a couple of years now. um, before he hits free agency. But for him, it's a great opportunity to kind of bet on himself.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think he played extremely well in the second half of the season with us. I think the main thing that changed there is that he was playing a really zone heavy scheme with the Raiders, and then he came here and he's playing man. And what I've seen from the film is he's really, really good at man coverage, specifically press. He'll play off like decently well. It's not, I wouldn't say it's his best, but his press coverage in man is amazing. Like it's cornerback one level material where you can have him follow around a wide receiver wherever he goes. He was sticky. Like he wasn't even getting targeted very much. Like quarterbacks wouldn't even look his way. And when they did, and when he was beat, he was able to recover and make a play on the ball. And that's a great quality of his.
That
And
was
so I get
actually
what
the
you're.
thing that stood out to me the most with him
Yeah.
is just uncanny ball awareness on recovery, knowing when to turn his head around right at the perfect time and when to get his hand up right at the perfect time. And there's an art to that. That's reading the receiver, reading how the receiver's reacting. And I mean, I'm not even sure that can be coached. Some corners have it, some don't, and Conley definitely has it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's more of an instincts thing. It's really hard to coach that into someone. And at first, when I saw that, I kind of saw it as like a negative that like, oh, he was getting beat so much, but he was able to recover. I was kind of seeing like the getting beaten part, but I wasn't seeing as much of like, oh, he's recovering and actually making a play on the ball. Which like, if you think about it, like every corner is going to get beat eventually. You can't always play perfect coverage. So the ability to recover, like you said, make a play on the ball, that's great. And so, yeah, like we've been saying, if he keeps up this play, I think you can't wait till free agency. I think you got to pay him. You got to give him that extension in the middle of the season. And the thing with picking up the option is like he's still going to make that money. You know, if you sign him to a deal now, then he'll start making whatever 12, 15 million now instead of making the 10. But if you sign him later, he'll still make if you accept the option, he'll make 10 and then he's still going to make that money later. So it's just like you're delaying the money. So I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a
Well,
deal
it's
for
just
me.
it's another year with him. It's
Yeah.
and what's the rules on it now? It's fully guaranteed. Is it fully guaranteed even with injury or in
I
case of
think it's in case of injury, yeah.
in case of injury? So I
I'm
don't know.
pretty sure.
I thought it was safer to go ahead and pick it up, but I've said this many times. I'm not as smart as the Texans front office. I just get to sit here and second guess them and kind of talk about it after the fact.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. Well, I'm definitely excited for both of those breakdowns. Again, you'll get to see a lot more detail than what me and Jordan just talked about. So, again, look out for Texans Thought all over Twitter and make sure once those come out that you read them and, definitely learn something. All right. So, we
Appreciate
are
that.
at the halfway point of the offseason. So, how are you feeling, man? Are we doing good? Are we doing bad? Is it as apocalyptic as the national media is making us out to be? What's your general feeling right now?
I'm very excited. I really want the season to start already. I think the media is definitely blowing our drama out of the water. And with all the kind of dramatic moves and that's happened, I think it's really easy for people to forget that we were up 24 nothing on the eventual Super Bowl winners. You know, and yeah, we didn't close
Oh,
out the
I don't
game.
forget. I definitely don't forget.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, we didn't close out the game, but it doesn't discredit us going up 24 nothing. We still did that. That still happened, right? And so clearly we have a team here, and with the growth of the young guys, the additions that we made, I think we've got a very good team to be excited about. What
No,
about you?
I definitely agree. I think that this has been an offseason all about depth. And for years and years and years and years, I say years and years, it's 4 years since we've had this podcast. We've said the biggest problem with the Texans, even outside the quarterback position, had always been depth. It was a very top heavy,
Hmm.
very, very top heavy roster. That the best guys, we at one point had the best wide receiver in football. At one point, we had the best defensive end in football. At one point, we had the best run stopping outside linebacker in football. We had one of the best corners in or one of the top 10 corner, and we had a top five quarterback. Granted, there was the quarterback, and the corner, they didn't overlap, but we never really got anywhere with that sort of star power. It was still the same thing. Get to the first round and, barely squeak by in the first round if we do win, or we lose in the first round and then we're out. So regardless, we all kind of knew we weren't going anywhere. Well, I may not necessarily agree with how we've gotten there, but with the roster we currently have, I think this is the deepest team we've had in a very long time. And so overall, I'm fairly happy about that. the free agency and even the draft were all about building depth. It wasn't about building the next star player. It was about building depth. And with that, Jordan, what is no I mean a top 5 under 25 quarterback. So Deshaun Watson, when he's been healthy, has been a top 5 quarterback. So just to answer Tony Yayo. And still with a quarterback with that talented, I mean, yeah, we did get up 24-0 on the Chiefs, but we won one playoff game. Year before, we got absolutely humiliated by the Colts. So Deshaun and couldn't do it alone. And he shouldn't have had to do it alone based on the talent that was around him. However, injuries, because it's football, that top heaviness almost would be a liability at the end of the year because everybody was hurt. Everybody was dealing with injuries. Where if you have depth, you spread out the injuries, and hopefully, because you don't rely on individuals as much, that maybe they don't get hurt because you're not putting such a backbreaking amount on them.
Yeah, I'm with that for sure. I think we got a lot of depth at wide receiver, at cornerback, on the D line, and the O line too is pretty good in terms of depth. So I'm with you there for sure. Injuries are bound to happen, but we're definitely better suited this year to handle that.
Yeah, at this point going into the season, I would think that we are in the best spot that we've been in a while. That if a key contributor gets hurt, it's not the end of the world. Right
Yeah.
now, it's kind of like as long as Deshaun's healthy, there's enough depth around him that we should be all right. Now, the question is, what happens to Deshaun? Which is a story for another day.
AJ
I
McCarron, baby.
I mean, McCarron looked all right for a couple of drives against the Titans, and the
Yeah.
Titans did. I mean, we can kind of talk about that real quick because it was kind of overlooked. We played our B squad against the Titans team that went to the AFC Championship when that game was very much a playoff game to them.
Yeah.
And as much as people have kind of, disrespected our backup quarterback, he went out there and looked very good against a defense that would go on to shut down Brady and would shut down Lamar Jackson. And again, they had to win that game. That was a playoff game for them. So maybe we need to hold him in a little bit higher of regard than we do.
Yeah, I mean, AJ McCarron's always been a pretty talented quarterback. He's always been a backup, but I think the thing is that there's a lot worse that you can do than McCarron, basically, is what I'm going to say. He showed that he can keep his head above the water, and as long as the scheme is good and he's got playmakers around him, he's got a good O-line around him, he can do the job. He can get the job done and kind of just be okay if Deshaun does go down.
Which is all we're hoping for. If Deshaun goes down, it's for a game or two, and AJ can just help us survive. Well, what's been your favorite move so far? Like, what are you really happy with so far with what they've done?
Yeah, so my favorite move was the Brandon Cooks trade. So at the end of the season, I was a big advocate of wanting the Texans to operate like Will Fuller wasn't even on the roster. I really hope he can stay healthy, but he's yet to prove that. So, and for me, it was just really inexcusable how different of a team we were without him, specifically on offense. But when we were playing, he's an elite deep threat, and our offense was consistently like producing at like a top 5 level. It was great. It looked like completely different play calling, and it was borderline like unstoppable. It was really great to watch. But when he was out, we kind of changed up that style. We went to more of like a quick passing offense, and we were awful. It produced like a bottom 5 offense. So being that volatile with one player is just inexcusable to me. And so we really couldn't deal with another season of that. So I'm happy that we don't have to now with Brandon Cooks being an elite deep threat. And so if Fuller does inevitably get injured, then Cooks can step right in and fill that role. Nothing will have to change. We can still run the same offense. And yeah, so I'm really excited about Cooks. I love that he's a lead deep threat, but then people also underrate how good of a route runner he is, and his hands too. His hands are solid. Like I don't know why people complain about his drops. He didn't produce well last year, but that's really just because Goff played awful and their O-line was awful, and there's not much that Cooks can do to control that. But you look back at his year before, his first year with the Rams, when he played with the Patriots, like he's been great all his career. And Deshaun's a great deep ball thrower. He's going to find him a lot when he's open, and he's going to be a star for us, I think.
Oh, definitely. And I think that was one part that's kind of overlooked. When Fuller got hurt, it wasn't just Fuller as a wide receiver with his talent level. It was how we changed our offense. And granted, part of that is because of what Fuller could do, but it's also part of that is we tried to stretch the field we didn't try to stretch the field vertically as much. I'm so
Yep.
sorry. Jordan, are you something's like sounds like you're opening a wrapper.
You still hear it?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm gonna unplug and replug my mic.
Okay. Hey, Cody.
Hey, what's up?
So we're about 20 minutes in. Did you actually look at the agenda at all?
I am pulling it up now.
Okay, awesome. So we're kind of talking right now what what Jordan's favorite moves of the offseason have been. So I'm just gonna have you jump in. What's been your favorite move so far?
Okay. Well, I actually really like the Randall Cobb move. The Randall Cobb move, I think, gives us a actual solid starter at the corner, or sorry, the slot wide receiver position, which I don't think we've had in a very long time. And I think that's going to be a real big game changer for OB's offense. It's going to help us really open up the field, take the short routes, whatnot. And other than that, Timmy Jernigan, I think, is going to be a pretty good signing for us as well. Some disruption up in the middle, some pass rush, solid ability to stop the run. If he can figure out his penalties, then I think it'll be a really solid signing.
Yeah, Eagles fans seem to think that we are absolutely gonna love. Is it Jernigan?
Jernigan, I believe it's
Jernigan. Yeah. Y'all, I can't even get names right of players that have been on the team for 4 years, much less 4 weeks. So just bear with me. Jordan, you back, man?
Yeah, is my mic all good?
Yep, there we go.
Okay, perfect.
All right. For those of you that are not familiar, if you're on the stream, Sputnik is Cody. He is our pretty much the wizard behind our website. He makes it look great, and he did it for a very low fee. So we always need to give him as much appreciation as we can. And he's also the guy that inspired the positive vibes only. If you weren't there, then you really missed out on quite a show from him. But positive vibes only is definitely an all Cody thing, and we're going to take it and we're going to run with it.
That definitely works with me.
All right, man. So, Jordan, what's been your favorite draft pick?
My favorite draft pick was Jonathan Grenard in the 3rd round. I think he was one of the best value picks that we had. I don't think we reached it all. I think it was perfect. And I think he's a really great edge rusher. My favorite thing about him is how he rushes with a plan. And so it's one thing, like, people always knock him because he's not a great athlete. But I feel like most of those athletes who are pass rushers, they just kind of rely on their athleticism to win. And you can't really do that at the National Football League. And so with Grenard, he's great at rushing with the plan. He always knows what move he's going to use. And he's got a wide array of moves, and he's really good at using those with his violent hands, and they're strong. And so that's my favorite part about his game, is that that's going to translate to the NFL really well. And he's also just a well-rounded player. He's good in the run game too. And I think he can start day one. He can take Brendan Scarlett's spot, and he'll be great off the edge for us.
Yeah, he's Grenard, actually, until I read your article, was my least favorite pick. Well, maybe Heck, but definitely Grenard was up there. He's not very athletic. Usually one of the things that I kind of watch for is players that really jump off the screen. And the only game of his I watched is when they played South Carolina. And I didn't even know he was there. However, between your article and then just kind of sitting back and reading Bill O'Brien's comments on him, he's going to play Sam. Sam means he doesn't have to be the best. He doesn't have to be the edge rusher. And it's kind of my defense of taking Grenard over some of the guys that have higher ceilings as edge rushers, is he's going to be a better coverage linebacker than them. So, yeah, I think that he's very well-rounded, and I blame you. No, he's Whitney. If Whitney could actually – so Tony Yayo just asked, is Grenard a younger Whitney Merciless? And I would say he would be a younger Whitney Merciless if he was less of a pass rusher and better at coverage.
Yeah, I kind of see that. I don't really like player comparisons, but obviously you have to do them every once in a while. But yeah, Whitney Merciless is definitely the one that I was thinking about, because it's kind of like a less athletic pass rusher who's really good with his hands. And then, yeah, like you said, like I think Bill O'Brien mentioned that they liked his ability to drop in coverage in the Senior Bowl. And so I didn't get to rewatch the Senior Bowl, but I'm going to go over that later. And I guess they're confident in that, because I know Brendan Scarlett had to drop a lot in coverage, and you really don't want him doing that. So if you can bring in anyone else, honestly, it'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. With some of the zone blitzes we had DJ Reader dropping coverage,
Yeah.
and for years when they would try and put both Clowney and Whitney out on the field at the same time, one of them would have to drop into coverage. It's just the nature of it, and people were always ready to flip their tables whenever either of them when either one would do it, and somebody had to do it. What about you, Cody? Who's been your favorite pick?
Well, one, there's something to be said about seeing DJ Reader trying to cover. It's just a good sight. Okay, but my favorite pick, well, I mean, Blacklock was kind of my draft crush, and I'm so happy we got him. But
Really, you were on that train right away.
Oh yeah. Like every mock draft I made, and Blacklock came down, I was picking him.
Why is that? Why were you so instantly in love with him?
I just really think he fit. I think he fit an immediate need, and one that I think a lot of people. I think he fit two needs. One, he fit somewhat of a hole that DJ Reader fit. He fills the hole of DJ Reader in a very little bit. Not, of course, he's not DJ Reader. He's not going to be a run stuffer in that sense, but he's going to be someone that can line up in the middle, and most importantly about him, get solid disruption on the quarterback. That might not always result in sacks, but we've really been missing that. DJ could kind of do that. Very few times when he'd get the opportunity. But it's going to be nice to see some actual solid disruption, someone to push the pockets. That way all these quarterbacks can just stop stepping up and getting away from JJ and Witt and hopefully now Grenard. But outside of him, John Reed seems awesome. And I mean, I'm a huge gamer, so like his huge gamerness is also a cool thing to see. But John Reed seems amazing.
Hey, Preston, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right.
Oh, welcome
It's been a long time since I've seen you guys.
Yeah, this is your first time actually on the stream, isn't it?
Yeah, I've only been involved for like 2 years, and first in-person appearance.
There we go. For those of you not familiar, this is Preston, especially on podcasts because you can't see that he just jumped on. Preston does all of our editing behind the scenes. He's also the guy that kind of kicks me and James in the butt sometimes to get things done. So, welcome on to the on the show, Preston.
Yeah.
We're just kind of discussing right now, but what's been our favorite moves and our favorite draft pick. So, this offseason, have you liked anything we've done?
I'd say that I've really enjoyed just kind of listening to a lot of the conversations going on in terms of the draft. I've never been a big draft analyst or anything like that. I've just been a big fan. I'd say I'm really excited about David Johnson and Duke Johnson together. And I don't know. I was talking to you guys earlier about how on the offensive side of the ball, the moves that Bob made this spring screams out to me, compete with the Chiefs. And I think that if people look at that mindset, I think that he's done a pretty good job of developing a diverse offensive set. Yeah.
Definitely. I would actually say that it's similar to how the Rockets had a single-minded obsession with going after the Warriors. Bill O'Brien may be developing a little bit of that to go after the Chiefs. Definitely with the guys we've brought into play, or the receivers we brought in, and even David Johnson to an extent. And one of the things I really like about David Johnson was his ability to actually run a deep route at running back. 2 years ago, we had a discussion about whether or not Lamar Miller was actually a quality passing back. And one of the things that was talked about was he never dropped a pass. However, from Texans Draft's article today, he had brought up a clip that showed David Johnson running a deep route. That was very, very similar to the route that I pointed out with Lamar Miller when Lamar Miller ran that route and just got absolutely lost with the ball in the air. And David Johnson doesn't get lost. He's actually able to turn his head around, find the ball, make the catch, and make the play. And to me, that's the biggest difference. It's not necessarily the drops. It's can you catch the pass when it's there? Does that actually doesn't sound like it makes any sense whatsoever, does it?
I mean, David Johnson spent, what was it, his freshman year in college as a wide receiver before he transitioned over to running back or something close to that. We were talking earlier about how he's probably the person that has the best hands on our team right now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean,
Jordan, you got any thoughts on Eric Murray?
Oh God, I don't want to hear it. I don't think anyone understood why he signed that, why he was given that contract, and I still don't think we have any answers. Maybe it looks better now that Gibson's cut, but I feel like that still doesn't make up for giving a bad player a large contract. I really hope there's another move that we're making in terms of safeties because I really don't want to see him starting, but it'll be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since they cut Gip, who's going to be our starting safety? I'm not even sure he's on the roster yet.
Eric Murray?
No. Our starting safety. Eric Murray is
unfortunately.
Yeah. And whomever's going to be our starting, the other safety, are they actually on the roster yet? Let's see. Next one up is, let me start this off with Cody. Who do you think we've actually progressed enough to be more than just a speed bump on the way for whatever teams go to the AFC Championship?
It's hard to say. I don't think our team is complete just because, I mean, we've got a limited experience of Bill O'Brien, the general manager, but he's always stressing in interviews that roster building is a continual year-long process. So I at this moment, I would probably say we've got some exploitable holes. I think we're overall, and this is probably going to get a lot of people upset, but I think we're a better team now than we were at the end of last season. I do believe that we're a better team. I think we have more depth all over the field. I think if we can get some healthy players of like J.J. Watt and Blacklock make an actual difference, then we can – I think we're in a lot better spot than many people think on defense. So I think we're a better team now. Is it going to be enough to get over the Chiefs, the Ravens? Who knows? I have a lot of hope that it is, though, but I'm the biggest optimist of this group.
Isn't that crazy to say that we are a better team now than we were at the end of the year is a hot take?
It's so – I mean, like, if I put that on Twitter, I'd probably get 700 retweets, and I have 0 followers. So, yeah, it's weird. I mean, everyone's, of course, upset about the Hopkins trade, and I 100%.
Which is understandable.
It's
I mean,
totally,
it really is.
There's an emotional attachment there. There's even just the discussion of compensation, which I don't really want to get into right now. But I get everyone has a right to be upset with that. I totally get that. But I still think if you can look past that initial anger of that, we're in a really good spot. But again, I'm always coming on to this podcast and saying that. So I'm the eternal optimist.
No, definitely. I mean, let's be real here that here's the problem with that. I mean, we've talked about it to depth. So I'm just going to say it is tough to trade a top 5 receiver, probably top 3 receiver, who has not regressed. There is no regression there. That is a weak-ass excuse. However, to come out on the other end and to say that we are definitely the better team now from before the trade to after the trade. Now, that's tough to say, and it almost hurts my heart to say it because I love Top. But I agree with you, Cody. I do think we're a better team. Preston, what do you think? You're a little bit more dry, a little bit more real, I think.
I don't know. I don't know if Cody heard this, but I told James, I was like, yo, I've got to become a Bengals fan now that DJ Reader's moved on. So I don't know if the team doesn't work out, I might get a bunch of orange and black and
It'd be a cold, hard existence for you, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, y'all are already aware that I may start wearing a Niners shirt on here.
I don't even know anybody else on the team, or like I don't know anything about Cincinnati, but DJ Reader's up there. He's my boy. No, I'd say I don't think that, you know, I want to hear more from Jordan on his thoughts of how, you know, of Bob.
That's why I'm saving him for last.
Just in general. I'm kind of always a pessimist. I kind of look at things at a very like basic business level transaction, and I think that a lot of the stuff that Bob's done over the past 2 years has been like very risk assessment based, and trying to pick up talent that's undervalued, like the Garyon Conley pickup. I felt like last year all of those, I think still now, picks are somewhat overvalued, and so last year that Bob was able to get all these trades for picks, I think he got a crop of solid players that are ready to perform at the highest level, that he didn't have to train, and that he didn't have to wait the next year to pick them up. And so I think that there just generally last year was a big undervalued for these trade picks. And so I just think that kind of in general, I see a lot of the things that he does, and I see, hey, this, you know, a lot of it's risk assessment, a lot of it's not pretty. And so I try to, that's what I see a lot of the time. And, you know, I'm by no means an expert, you know, but I can kind of see the idea behind the movement. And, you know, I don't know, there's a reason that I don't gamble. It's like, I'm not a big risk guy, but, you know, at least I have felt that the moves he's made has made sense. You know, whether they're going to work out, you know, depends on what record we end up with, right? But yeah. Ultimately, that's how I feel.
Well, no, fair enough. The NFL is greatly considered to be a very conservative league based on front office transactions. Front offices are very, very unlikely to step outside the norm. So I do actually give that a point in Bill O'Brien's favor, that he's kind of breaking the norm. He is being a lot more aggressive than pretty much anyone else in the NFL right now. I mean, it's become completely, I mean, we saw the tweet before the draft, totally on brand. The Texans are looking to move up. So that's the reputation that he's built them with. And I'm actually, in some ways, I mean, it sucks that we got rid of Hop, but I would rather have that, because we also fussed about the other end where we didn't do anything all off season. Jordan, I'm kind of bracing myself because you're gonna probably come down a little bit harder than the rest of us did.
Yeah.
Where are you at on us?
Okay, so I'll give you my my Bill O'Brien take first. I'm not a fan. I'm surprised he has fans left, honestly. Not a fan of how he lets his emotions take over his decisions a lot of the time, and that leads to bad business decisions.
Fair.
And his biggest thing this season and recently has just been he's mortgaging the future, right? He's almost like he's destroying his capital to the point where it's like no one else who's coming for his job is going to want that job because they don't have any draft picks. They don't have cap space, right? So it's like it's almost like he's making it an unattractive job. And so, yeah, there's going to be trades where you can say he's overpaid and that you don't agree with. But at the end of the day, and I'm like a pessimist kind of at heart too, but at the end of the day, I'm tired of complaining about Bill O'Brien. I don't want to have to keep doing that. That's not what I want to do. I want to have like a positive view on the team. I am excited for the team. And the thing is that he's our head coach. He's our GM. We can't do anything about that until the season starts. You know, he could get fired after the first game, great. But until then, he's still our coach. So we're going to stick with it. And I'm going to try and get excited about what he has brought to the team. And I think that's a lot of good things. I think if he can use those talents that he's added to their proper ability and utilize them right with the scheme and everything, I think we got a good team. We've got something to be excited about and a potential contender for sure.
I'd like to push you a little bit on your comment of mortgaging the future. I guess I just don't understand that concept. I mean, I get it, but ultimately, like when it comes to Laramie Tunsil, and I think that every year, every team gets a first round pick, right? Well, we have a top 3 left tackle, so is and that deal included Kenny Stills, so it was more than. So it was 2 players for 3 picks, right? And I just think when you have a top 3 quarterback in the league, and you aren't going to spend picks on first round picks on quarterbacks, and that you need to protect him. I think that there's a lot of teams that waste like out of 10 years they'll pick 3 different first-round quarterbacks just to try to see how many quarterbacks they can pick up and see what works. And it's like, 2 picks on a top of the line left tackle is I don't know. It seems like to me it's like that makes some sense to me. Now I know that when in doing that they basically guaranteed that they would pay him the biggest contract. They would reset the market with the largest left tackle contract. So that's definitely an argument that you can make. But I'm curious what you think about that.
So for me, I'm with you. I think if you look at the amount of picks that we've given up, so Miami had our 26th pick in the first round. So what they picked at, and they picked a tackle. They picked a tackle to replace Laramie Tunsil, and that tackle, he's not going to be half as good as Tunsil is right now. And he's probably not going to be as good next year. And same with our next year's first-round pick. If they take another tackle that year, which probably won't, they'd be really stupid to, but if they do to try and, again, replace Tunsil, he's probably not going to be as good as Tunsil will either. And so I get that point of it. But the thing with wanting to protect Deshaun is that, you got a top 3 left tackle, but the sack numbers didn't really go down that much. And it just kind of shows that adding that one player, even if he's a star player and one of the best at his position, protecting the quarterback's more than just one player. There's 5 guys on the offensive line who can still contribute to that. There's Deshaun, who, some people will say he holds the ball too long. He's got to throw it away, so that can help with sacks too. I think a lot of it's also the scheme. Wide receivers running the same damn route, no one getting open, so Deshaun has nowhere to go. So, I love adding Tunsil. I think it was a move. It was a great move. Adding him, the price, sure, it could have been a little bit lower, but at the end of the day, what the goal was to protect Deshaun, and it marginally got better by adding that one player. And I just don't know, with that big of a cost, is that really
that, by the way, because they went down by 20 sacks, and we went from 60 to 44, I think was the difference, 15. That's not marginal. That's near 20% difference of going down to me. I'm not good with math. I'm an art major. But still, that 15 sacks, that's a lot of hits that he's not taking. And it's not just one player, because we also have Titus Howard, so it's hard to really equate the amount of difference we made that just Tunsil made. But that was my only point there. I think Tunsil, I think the impact was larger than you're giving it credit for, is my only thing. I think we actually had a really decent pass protection this year, and you were getting into some of the things with wide receivers not running, what all gets into a sack. And I do think a lot of it was more on outside factors other than the offensive line itself. I'll pause there.
Yeah, I'm with that for sure.
I would counter back, Cody, just because I like playing devil's advocate. Deshaun Watson's numbers were almost identical this year versus last year. He had 2 more interceptions, but other than that, his yardage, his completion percentage, everything else straight through the board was almost identical with better protection. So.
And do you know where so Tony said in the chat went down to 44. Do you know where that ranked in the league? I don't know if anyone knows. Because was that still in the bottom, you know what I mean?
Wait, what
Like-
what were you asking for?
So we were saying that. So Tony in the chat put that the sacks went down from 62 to 44, and I'm just wondering if anyone knows where that ranked in the league. Was that still like near the bottom of the league? Because like it was great if they still went down, but if
For a
like
second, I'll look
everyone
it
in
up.
the league went down.
I don't remember the sack number. I do remember. I mean, you can cherry pick
I'm
any.
gonna check it.
You can end up cherry picking any stat to tell a story you want. And I do remember reading a stat. It was like PFF's pass block win rate, and we were top 5. Like by the end of the season, we were top 5. We might have finished top 6 or something like that in pass block win rate. So the offensive line was like winning at the line of scrimmage at a very good rate. So I think
the
offensive line was like winning at the line of scrimmage.
For the postseason, we gave up the most amount of sacks.
The offensive line was like winning.
Do you guys hear an echo?
There's a big echo.
I hear that echo through.
There we go. Just for the postseason, we gave up the most. We gave up 12. The next highest team was the Vikings, and they gave up 9. And then for the regular season,
No, we did not have Titus Howard. That needs to be said.
True.
Yeah.
True. And the regular season, the Panthers gave up 58 sacks, and we're not even a top 10. We're number 8. So the Panthers gave up 58, which was the most in the league. We gave up 49.
Yeah, so that's still like in the bottom bit, and I get that it got better for sure, and I don't think the O-line was the main problem. I think like we've been talking about the scheming wide receivers open better, Deshaun kind of throwing with more anticipation. I think that's a big thing, and just hitting his check down sooner too, because I know he wants the big play, and it's great when you get the big highlight play, but sometimes you just have to take what the defense gives you, and I think that's something he'll learn. Like he's still a super young quarterback. He's really only played 2.5 years, so he'll grow into that and he'll learn from his mistakes.
Granted, one bit of good news with that is we were not top 10 in QB hits. Only 93 QB hits allowed, which put us actually at number 12. So there's something. And the other end of the spectrum is I've heard the offensive line has a bigger impact on the running game. We probably had our most efficient rushing season. That's not really
felt that way. Like just watching the season, it felt effective. I don't have any numbers in front of me to confirm that, but that's all I have for it.
We had our first 1,000-yard rusher, and Lamar Miller had 1,000 yards 2 years ago.
I'm looking up right now. Carlos Hyde, he had a 4.4 yards per carry, and that's really good compared to what we've been having before, where Lamar was like barely at 4.
Yeah,
like he's kind of like right below that. So yeah, it was definitely a lot better for sure.
Jordan, I'll throw back. I'll bring back up the mortgaging the future. Are there any other? Like, are there any? What examples would you bring up of to? I don't know. I guess justify that point.
Yeah, I guess the other trades that we made for giving up a 3rd-round pick for Gary Conley, and yeah, you got a nice, great young player in return. Who I like that trade. Honestly, I'm not that mad at that, but. If giving up another big one for me was giving up the 3rd-round pick for Duke Johnson, and you probably won't find a bigger Duke Johnson fan than me. I love him, but if we're gonna not utilize him that much, if we're gonna only be using him on 3rd down and not even really having him run routes downfield, who he's also a really great downfield runner. If we're not gonna be using him, why are we paying that big of a price for a running back, for a backup running back? You know, that's something you can get so much later in the draft or for cheap. So I think those 2 trades. Where you're talking about giving up all this draft capital, and like we talked about the Kenny Stills part of it, it's basically like the trade was basically 2 first-rounders for Laramie Tunsil and then a 2nd-rounder for Kenny Stills. I think that's how kind of the consensus has come to about it, right? And a 2nd-round pick for Kenny Stills, like he's a great player and all, he gives us great insurance, but the rumors were that the Dolphins were about to cut him. So like I don't know, it's overpaying in these little things like that where he's really mortgaging the futures by giving up all this draft capital where we don't have a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick next year, and it's not looking good. I mean, that's how you rebuild your teams when you are in bad cap space, and you need those cheaper contracts to get depth and good players at good positions of need. So
I don't think we're in bad cap space though. Like coming into last year, we were in one of the best cap space. I don't think Laramie Tunsil's deal is as bad as most people are making it out to be. We have, I mean, we're like right in the middle of the pack right now when it comes to the amount of free cap space. I think this cap space, I think this, yeah, we have to pay Deshaun Watson, but we've literally been planning on this for the last 2 years. We've been, we went into this offseason with 60 million or so in cap space.
Yeah, we went
Yep.
into the offseason number 2 in cap space, but we can't have the cap space discussion until Deshaun signs his contract.
That's true, but like, I always find it fun. Like, I'm just not big about watching other people's wallets. I love what we have as far as on the team right now. The cap is always rising too. So like when it comes to a conversation of like, oh, he's got a giant contract right now, in 2 years or in like 2 years, we won't give a shit about it.
Yeah, we'll have the D
Look at Hop
again. Yeah,
look at
paid wide receiver 3 years ago, and now
he was on one of the most affordable contracts until he obviously wanted a raise. But he was on one of the most affordable wide receiver contracts in the NFL within 2 to 3 years from signing a monster contract. Like I get it's like it's a salary cap league. It's a big thing to be concerned about. But we've seen the Saints be negative in cap space and still make all these crazy random roster moves and contract restructures. It's just we can do all these weird accounting tricks. It's just a number. And at the end of the day, like, we can make something work. If we have to cut a player, they'll definitely not be someone that we can't replace, I don't think.
Yeah, I guess just piggybacking off of that, just trying to keep it positive, I guess. We can. So Whitney Merciless has an out in his contract after the 2021 season. It'll just be $3 million dead cap. I don't know about you guys, but I wasn't the biggest fan of that contract. So that's one way we can save a lot of money.
Love Whitney. That's a horrible contract.
I love Whitney.
Right.
I love Whitney. I love his restaurant. Shout out to Whitney's restaurant. It's delicious. You should go there. I just love
he's 2 years older than JJ, right?
Whit, yeah,
I think like a year and a half or something.
He's
but
31,
like,
and JJ just turned 30.
30, yeah, he's literally one of my favorite Texans of all time. I love Whitney.
Yeah, I mean, I love him, and I love to hear him talk, but it's still a bad contract for what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
this is no disrespect to Whitney. He's never really relied too much on his athleticism, so he may have a longer career, but that contract was unnecessary.
I just want to throw in one quick point off the Duke Johnson and Kenny Stills. So yeah, there's definitely the argument that if you direct comparison of Kenny Stills in second round and Duke in the third round, you could say, hey, you could get that level of performance later in the draft. I'll say, the experience of being a veteran, I think, kind of makes up for it. So in this last year, in this win now mode, it's like, you have to pay more in order to get that value than what it would be worth later on. And what if our defense would have held the Chiefs to 30 points, we would have been in the AFC Championship.
Don't bring it up. Please don't bring this game.
Well, it's just
All
like
right.
it's like we we were really close to a Super Bowl, and so it's like
We lost to the Super Bowl winning team. I think.
Yeah, and so it's like
there's
like
no
the
shame.
goal of I'm gonna trade away future value for win now value. Like to me, it made sense because it was like, I personally, once you get to like the top 8 teams, it's kind of a crapshoot. Like, if you have a bad day, that can end your run. And so it's like, it just getting to that point and having that shot to make it to the Super Bowl is I don't know. I think that, I guess that's how I look at the justification of, hey, Kenny Stills might not be as good as some players in the second round this year, but, he was ready to play and he was impactful on the team right when they got him. So that's kind of how I think of it.
I also think
I'm gonna go ahead and tie a bow on this session because we're actually running out of time. Just quick, yes or no. I'm gonna go around to each one of y'all real quick. If we are pretenders or if we're contenders, Say if you actually think we're a contender this year, say yes. If we're still pretenders, then just say no. Jordan,
Yes, we are contenders.
Cody,
As long as we have Deshaun, we're contenders.
Preston.
I agree.
There we go. See, all that talking, we all agree.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think. Oh, sorry. I think we all. I mean, at the end of the day, we might have different opinions on some things, but we're still Texans fans.
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah, that's
what,
what I was gonna say.
I'll let Jordan lead off on this one. What team scares you the most other than the Chiefs? Actually, you know what? Let's just keep this in the AFC South. What team scares you the most in the AFC South? Because if you make the playoffs, again, it becomes kind of a random tournament. So we want to continue to win the AFC South. What team do you think is going to threaten us the most?
I think the most threatening team has got to be the Titans. You know, they had the most success last year. And while I don't believe entirely in Ryan Tannehill, I think he's going to come back down to earth. I think the stats that he put up last year they're just hard to repeat. They were just too crazy for me. But they have a good formula with running the ball and keeping the ball out of Deshaun's hands with Derrick Henry. And that offensive line is pretty damn good. So that run game is strong. And they have a decent enough defense. And if the rumors are true and if Clowney signs with the Titans, they're going to be scary. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen.
So if y'all aren't familiar with the rumor is the only team that he's going to take less money for is the Titans. He'll take a less money short-term deal because he believes Vrabel can get the most out of him. He believes Vrabel will help him get to the check that he wants. Clowney is after money. I've actually got friends that have confirmed that Clowney wants to get paid. He still believes that he is that number one player, the number one hype player. Like he still believes this in his heart, and he's going to get that contract that he feels like he deserves. And hey, I love Clowney. Like no disrespect to the man.
Yeah.
The only team that he's going to take a contract for less is because he loves Vrabel. So him going to the Titans is a realistic and a scary possibility. Cody, what do you think?
I'm not really worried about any of the teams in the AFC South. Really, I view a lot of the Titans' success last season as a lot of flukiness. We let them basically into the playoffs. That needs to be said. If we actually would have played our starters, they wouldn't have been in the playoffs or in the AFC. They wouldn't have been in the AFC Championship or in the playoffs. Period. They finished 9-7 again for the third year in a row. All of Tannehill's success, and they still finished 9-7. They basically steamrolled a hungover Ravens team to get there. And then, they got their fucking ass kicked by the Chiefs. Anyway, I'm not really worried about the Titans. I think they've also lost a considerable amount of talent on their team, specifically defense. And that won't be answered until Clowney is signed, if he is signed. And if we look at the team as it is now, I am not worried about their team. We have consistently shown that we can stop Derrick Henry in the run game. Not worried about the Titans. I fully expect to revisit this video in 6 months and be eating my words. Colts, I think Phillip Rivers is a question mark. I don't think he's going to provide a considerable performance increase than Brissett, but I do think he will be better. At the end of the day, I'm not sold on the Colts. I do not think the Colts are a contender. I think they have a lot of holes, particularly on defense. They still don't have any proven talent and weapons for Rivers, like T.Y. Hilton, who can't stay healthy, and then Marlon Mack, who also can't stay healthy and is a tier 2 running back. They don't have many weapons to surround Rivers with. I guess I'm not super familiar with their draft, but
They picked up Jonathan Taylor.
If Jonathan Taylor, that'll be immediate.
He's pretty good.
They'll run the ball. They'll be well, but they don't have a balanced attack. I don't think they have a balanced team. I'm not worried. And then the Jags, get out of here. Okay, so just get out of here.
What, you mean Gardner doesn't scare you? Gardner miss you?
Oh man, the most overhyped. Gardner had I think Gardner had a decent season. I think Gardner has a really great brand presence that is overinflating maybe his actual performance of that season. And the fact that he was 6th round pick, 6th round, right?
Yeah, 6th-round pick.
So he had
Well,
no.
when you go 4-12 every year, you got to have something to be
Yeah,
excited
but like
about.
when you have no expectations, right? When you have no one has any expectations for you, you have nothing to do but up. Like if Joe Burrow had that season, people would be pissed at Joe Burrow. They'd be like, "What the fuck? You're the number one." Can I cuss? By the way,
Yeah, you can cuss.
What
We're
the
cussing
fuck?
again.
You were the number one overall pick, and this is like he played well at moments, but like he didn't play like you really want your quarterback. He played like a game managing quarterback to me. Anyway, I'm not convinced of Jags at all. I have no idea what they're doing, but they've got smart football people that know more about football than I do. So
Yeah, fair enough. Preston, is there anybody that scares you?
In the AFC South,
AFC South. So we all know it's Baltimore and the Chiefs for the AFC.
I
but-
just, Cody, you say that the Colts defense doesn't scare you, but
not in the slightest.
They might still have a better defense than we do.
It's not hard.
Yeah, so I just I
Yeah,
think
that's
the Colts
true.
are the biggest divisional.
I would actually probably wouldn't be surprised if all 3 AFC South teams end up with a higher ranked defense than we do. But our offense should be light years better.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't really make any upgrades of defense in the offseason.
Yeah, that's what's concerning to me.
I mean, there's 2 high draft picks, but and they might be impactful by the end of the season, but they've each got to grow, and there wasn't a whole lot of changes anywhere else. It's like it's still JJ and Whitney.
Timmy Jernigan, man, I'm telling you, y'all are gonna love Timmy Jernigan.
Yeah,
I keep hearing that. I keep
You're
hearing
gonna
that.
love Timmy Jernigan. You're gonna love Blacklock. Blacklock, my dude. Literally never met this dude, but he's my dude. Can't wait to play him in Madden. Yeah. I think we've made some questionable moves. Like I don't know why we paid Eric Murray as much as we did, even though I just got done with the rant about talking about looking at contracts. I think Timmy Jernigan's a good signing. I think if we have a healthy Roby, like our secondary is actually going to be pretty damn good. Roby on the field, we did really damn well. But I think there are some sneaky good signings. Some sneaky good signings that don't get a lot of credit, mostly Timmy Jernigan.
No, ultimately our defense relies way too much on the health of JJ Watt. If
Tony,
JJ Watt is healthy, then we are more than fine. If JJ is not healthy, it's going to be interesting.
Tony, I will cut that because Carlos Watkins is good in the run game, and we're about to get eaten alive in it.
All right. So just to kind of finish up, I'm going to throw out, because yesterday was May the 4th.
May the 4th
Disney,
be with you.
yeah, Disney was charging everybody that used that. So they did a counter thing that it's now Revenge of the 5th. So, Cody, what's your favorite Star Wars? Anything Star Wars?
Anything Star
Wars.
Like, I'm a huge just nerd. So the original trilogy, obviously, I really love as of recently The Mandalorian. Hold on, stream people.
What is he?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
For those of you on the podcast, Cody has the lightsaber. It's awesome.
But it's like the $300 version. So yeah, I just got
yeah.
From Disney, or is that
before the coronavirus. I got back from Disney World.
nice?
I was in the Star Wars park for a very long time. So
All right, Preston.
I'm a big animated fan, so I got to say Clone Wars.
Okay.
It's just been endless. They've got like 7 or 8 seasons, and Anakin's a good guy in that show. So it's just like, I don't know.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
On a 20-year-old,
Has it been going for 20 years? Clone Wars.
I think it was,
Darth Vader is actually Luke's father.
Season
Come on.
here. Finally.
or
Final
maybe
season.
15. It might have been 2005 when the 3rd one came out.
Man,
Someone in
we're
the
getting
chat earlier said, "I bet you Sputnik is a Star Trek fan." So I'm gonna have to do that real quick. So that one.
And Jordan, what about you, man?
I find it hard to pick a favorite one, so I'll give you like my favorite character of all time,
There you go.
which
That
is
works.
General. Sorry.
That works. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
works.
So my favorite guy was General Grievous. I just thought he was a badass. I just loved that he had like 4 lightsabers when everyone else was just chilling with one. He was just a complete badass. Like I just loved him. I always wanted like his toy growing up. He was really fun.
And I'm actually going to answer Tony's thing. Rebels hit so hard. I finally watched that. Dude, like the end of Rebels. Have y'all watched it, Star Wars Rebels?
Mm-hmm.
I was absolutely surprised because it started off, it wasn't the greatest thing, but the last like season of it, like it hit hard. I don't know if it's better than Clone Wars, but it hit pretty hard.
Oh wait, there's 2 animated shows.
There is. Rebels is like the
Mind
sequel to Clone
blown.
Wars. Like they overlap. Like it's a lot of the same characters. So it's really cool. The first season seemed real kiddie-ish. Like more kiddie-ish, I guess, than cartoons really can be. Like they toned it down. It wasn't everybody dying on screen all the time like in Clone Wars. But towards the end of Rebels, like it hits.
Yeah, people are still starting to realize that adult cartoons are like a big in demand.
Definitely.
Speaking of which, the new Harley Quinn show is pretty dope. Just throwing that out there.
Really?
Yeah, but then you gotta pay for another
streaming services. Shout out.
Dude, I guess I've been living under a rock.
You gotta pay for another service, and I'm about broke as is, so
I think you can watch this one for free. I don't pay
Okay.
for it. I don't pay for it, at least.
did you just tell on yourself for breaking the law?
No, it might be included with like I just bought a new TV, so it might be included with like a smart TV package or something. But I don't pay for it. So.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we've tried to do and we always forget to do is having a segment to kind of end the show called Positive Vibes Only, where we try to think of something positive that either the Texans have done, regardless, like something through the community or like a fan interaction, something that through Twitter that you saw that wouldn't have happened without the Texans. Essentially, that's the only thing that has to kind of link it together. Like mine's pretty general. Like I'm very grateful for the community that we have built around Texans Unfiltered, which would not have happened without us being able to watch the Texans. We get to bond and talk about all sorts of dumb shit, and Discord is great, and it would not exist without the Texans. So things kind of like on that line, like the sample that I put in the agenda was just talking about how much money has been donated to the COVID relief. I'm not going to try and put anybody on the spot. So if you don't have anything, that's perfectly cool. But Cody, you got anything you want to kind of shout out?
I mean, I was really hoping I wouldn't go first. Okay, now I am on the spot. I guess I can be like super generic, and maybe it's not generic, but I'm super thankful for the charity that the Texans have been able to bring, particularly in my case, like J.J. Watt's Hurricane Harvey relief. Like my parents' home was destroyed in Hurricane Harvey. They didn't get helped out from J.J. Watt, but like still, it was just an incredible, nice act to see. Just all of that was just a real wonderful, welcoming thing to see. I don't know. It was just a really kind of, yeah. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. Preston. Somebody put something up in chat if you want to use that one.
I'll just say that I'm thankful for the Texans media. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah, that gave us room to actually, grow. Jordan, you got anything, man?
I really don't, but I think it was a couple of days ago that Justin Reed got nominated for like the Ed Courage Block Award or whatever, something like that, where it's just like where he does a lot of community service. And I know there's a lot of guys in Texans who do it, but he's definitely one who stands out above the rest, who is always doing his best to help out the community and stuff. So grateful for him.
Yeah, it's awesome. The Texans have, for COVID relief, they've donated at 1.7 million across all the people that are affiliated with the Texans. So, they're out there trying to put their money where their mouth is. And I think JJ just donated $350 to the food bank. Of course. Hey, Sputnik, what's up?
I was going to say that in that line, Bill O'Brien donated more than the entire Bills organization did.
Wow.
Bill
Yeah, he's
O'Brien
awesome.
himself donated
he's
either
a jerk.
100,000 or 300,000. It was either one of those, but he donated a 6-figure donation towards COVID, and the Bills put up like 10 to 20,000. Not that we should be penny watching anyone donating money. I'm just
I
saying.
know, right? I haven't donated $10,000, so
I'll throw in one additional thing that one fortuitous outcome of our of this landscape that we've been in for the past 6 weeks is that we've been fortunate to be able to get some really cool interviews with players and supporting figures in football that are generally very busy. So that's helped us all grow and do some really cool stuff. So
yeah, definitely. All right. Well, Preston, how about you get on us making a drop for this? No, I'm just kidding. You don't really have to. But I want to thank everybody for coming on. It was kind of a thrown together show. Again, James got to, celebrate his anniversary, so he's hopefully having a very good night. Me and James will be back on Thursday, and we'll do a live stream again to go over the newly released schedule, minus any international games, because the NFL has cut those out. Jordan, do you want to tell everybody where to find you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Texans_thoughts. Much appreciated.
Cody, do you want to shout anything out?
Don't,
or you're just gonna be
yeah.
like, you're good. Same with you,
find me.
Preston.
Don't find me.
I'm good.
Either one of y'all could have like chilled out because you just gave us a lecture about not pushing our stuff and said, hey, why don't you visit the website at Texans Unfiltered?
Oh, hey, why don't you visit the website at www.texansunfiltered.com, where you can read all wonderful content and articles written by Jordan, Texan Thoughts, and also my friend Dylan, Texan Graph. There's a lot of great original content there. Be sure to check it out. We're publishing lots of stuff all the time. It's really cool. You should check it out.
There we go. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next time.